Next on NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
We've got an update on some of the policy and regulatory issues that NCBA is tackling in Washington, D.C. Plus, we'll tell you about some great events where you can get hands-on cattle care training.
And now, NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen with host Kevin Oxner.
Hello and welcome to NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Kevin Oxner. We begin with a look at exports, and U.S. beef had an outstanding performance in August, remaining well above last year's pace. According to statistics released by USDA and compiled by the U.S. Meat Export Federation, August beef exports totaled just over 112,000 metric tons, up 5% from a year ago. That's the best performing month so far in 2017. Export value was the second highest ever at just over $679 million, up 20% from a year ago. For January through August, beef exports increased 10% in volume and 16% in value compared to the first 8 months of 2016. Of course, things that happen in Washington, D.C. can have a big impact on all aspects of the beef business, including exports. We sent Cattlemen to Cattlemen reporter Russell Nemitz to our nation's capital to get an update on some of the issues that are top of mind for all beef producers. Russell?
Every day here in Washington, D.C., the National Cattlemen's Beef Association is working on behalf of its members nationwide on key legislative priorities that are impacting today's U.S. beef cattle industry. And one of those leaders here at the NCBA's office in our nation's capital is Colin Woodall, the NCBA's Senior Vice President of Government Affairs. Colin Woodall, and as I mentioned, there is never a lack of issues to talk about here in our nation's capital.
Never a lack of issues, and that is especially true here in the fall of 2017 when Congress is looking at the whole year and realizing they haven't done much, and now they're trying to do everything they can to get as much done as possible before they go home for Christmas.
You know, one of the big issues that we've been talking about for a few years now, and we could see a little bit of reform on, is the EPA's highly controversial Waters of the U.S. rule, and certainly a little bit of reform on that would be some excellent news for cattlemen and cattlewomen.
It would be excellent news, and it is excellent news because fortunately the EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt has taken the action to roll back the Waters of the United States, or WOTUS rule. So we're excited about that, and that should be finalized here over the next couple of weeks. But that's not the end of the discussion. We then have to go in and find a replacement for their rule to make sure that we can still protect the quality of waterways, but better determine whose jurisdiction it is to regulate those waterways, whether it is the state or local governments or on the federal side. We want to make sure that we put some sideboards around that federal jurisdiction and do so in a way that not only helps maintain water quality, but more importantly protects private property rights, which the WOTUS rule never did. And I do believe that the action by the administrator is going to give us a replacement rule that will achieve both of those goals.
You know, another big issue that's being talked about here in this town and certainly out there in the country is the next farm bill. And like a lot of other ag organizations, the NCBA is tackling the 2018 farm bill head on as well these days.
The Farm Bill is always a priority for NCBA, and it's a very complicated piece of legislation. We do have good news, though. It looks like the budget that the Congress passed is not going to have the amount of cuts that we originally expected. So that means that both the House and Senate Ag Committee will have a little more money to work with as they are looking at building this particular piece of legislation. For us, we're engaged on several different levels. First of all, we want to make sure that we have a strong research title. The research that is done by USDA's Agricultural Research Service and our land-grant universities is critical to our success in finding ways to be better producers and, more importantly, finding ways to protect ourselves from foreign animal diseases. We also want a conservation title that is good at providing the cost share programs that have been so successful in helping producers comply with a lot of those EPA regulations. Programs like the Environmental Quality Incentives Program, EQIP, for example. We want to make sure that we protect those and, more importantly, make them easier for producers to actually utilize and that they don't go blind on paperwork like like unfortunately we hear happens quite often. And then of course we're spending a lot of time working on our FMD vaccine bank to make sure that this is put in place. And I think that hopefully with the amount of money that the committee now has to work with, we can try to get that done. But we also have to spend a lot of time playing defense, making sure things like COOL and the GIPSA rule don't come back to life. So we have a lot of work to do to make sure that the Farm Bill is something that is beneficial to cattle producers.
What's the latest on the trade front? There's been a lot of news and a lot of headlines here of late regarding trade.
We are spending all of our effort right now just protecting what we have. We continue to hear the president talk about pulling out of NAFTA, pulling out of the South Korean Free Trade Agreement, the CORS agreement. Those are all very concerning to us given the amount of business we do with all those countries. So unfortunately, we find ourselves in a very defensive position trying to maintain what we have. And that's, like I said, unfortunate because we would like to spend more time working on new deals, in particular trying to create some sort of bilateral agreement with Japan to replace the TPA agreement that we pulled out of, and also to look at the United Kingdom. In a post-Brexit world, they're going to be looking for trading partners, and we're hoping that'd be an opportunity for us to try to expand into Europe and to find some people over there who understand what production technologies are about and are willing to actually accept that science and technology. So we're going to continue to push for additional access, but again, I expect we're going to spend a continuous amount of time just trying to defend what we have.
You know, we've covered quite a few issues on today's segment. Last question, Colin. I mean, everything you've talked about, it does still seem that there's a lot of positive momentum for not just the U.S. livestock industry, but U.S. agriculture as a whole, and a lot of positive things coming out of this little place we call Washington, D.C.
There are a lot of positive things. And when you look at a relationship with the administration, not only the president, but his undersecretaries and his secretaries at different cabinet levels, we have a whole new relationship than we've had over the past several years because we have an administration that's willing to come and talk to us and ask us about the rules and regulations that they're putting in place and whether or not they're going to impact us. And if they do impact us, trying to find ways to mitigate that impact. That has been a breath of fresh air, and we're just relishing every bit of it. And we hope to be able to capitalize more on it here over the next several years.
Colin, as always, thanks for joining us on Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Thank you, Russell.
All right, Colin Woodall, the NCBA's Senior Vice President of Government Affairs here in their Washington, D.C. office.
Next week, we've got a special edition of Cattlemen to Cattlemen coming to you from Washington, D.C., a place where so much happens that can impact us as beef producers. We'll discuss a wide range of policy issues and learn more about how NCBA works for you in our nation's capital. One way the beef industry stimulates demand is through the work of the beef checkoff. The $1 per head checkoff is divided among many great programs that help increase consumer demand. We asked members of the state beef councils to explain why the checkoff is so important to what they do on a state level.
Well, the importance of the checkoff that has been in existence since '85, we actually have a recent study that found that every dollar invested returns $11.20, and I'd be pretty hard pressed for those producers to find anywhere else that those dollars return of a greater return on investment as the checkoff.
I not only show them what we do with the beef dollars that we have in New York State, but then I show them that partnership that we have and what the programs that we do with those partnership. I created an infographic that showed what that 50 cents is, and then all of our program areas when it comes to nutrition education, consumer education, and producer education.
Just the issues management, where we are constantly monitoring what's going on in the press and responding to that and being prepared. It's pretty easy to justify a single dollar investment by producers and see their return on investment.
I'm a little biased because I live it every day, but without the beef checkoff, we would see demand diminish, we would be less relevant in the marketplace.
Well, the Beef Checkoff program is the only self-help program that producers have. We're the ones who are day in and day out protecting and defending what they do every single day. I also like to tell producers that it's very important that they understand that the majority of us have a vested interest in the beef community. We grew up in it, or we still have cattle today. And I think that makes producers feel even a little bit more comfortable that we know what it's like during calving season. We know what it's like when we're going to be weaning and the hard work that it takes, and we're doing this on their behalf. So they can do that hard work on the farm or the ranch, and we can protect and defend what they do every day.
Well, I think the challenge we've always had with the checkoff program is that we try and use those dollars to reach our target audience, our consumers. And spend a minimal amount at telling the producers what we're doing with their dollars. And therein lies the challenge and sometimes the disconnect. Because if we're actually reaching our target audiences, producers probably aren't seeing those programs. And so trying to bring back to them the reason that these are valuable, the results especially of the successes of our program, are what really resonates with our producers.
That checkoff is what we really use as our workhorse to provide that information to the public. And without the checkoff, we simply can't be in front of people. So I always look at that checkoff as that investment, that it's a security for longevity for our beef producers to continue to do what they love every day.
Another way the Checkoff promotes the beef industry is through the Beef It's What's for Dinner website. Check out the new and improved website for some examples on how Checkoff dollars are working to reach consumers. Still to come on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll take you inside a Stockman Ship and Stewardship event to see how NCBA is helping to educate producers. And later, we'll discuss how NCBA is also providing training for cattle transporters. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Blaze a trail to Phoenix, Arizona and the 2018 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show. It's the cattle industry's biggest convention, and there will be education, networking, and fun. Plus, you can't afford to miss the huge NCBA Trade Show.
Well, I think the trade show is a great place to get new ideas.
There's no better place for cattlemen and women to learn and connect with fellow producers from across the country.
The NCBA Trade Show is one of the great reasons to attend the convention. There's so many things to see, from vendors to livestock handling, demonstrations to all kinds of things, meat cutting demonstrations. It is a wealth of information.
Plus, there will be top-notch entertainment and information that will help the bottom line of your cattle business. So blaze a trail to Phoenix and the 2018 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show, January 31st through February 2nd. Visit beefusa.org for more.
Want more profit out of your pasture? Then here's our 2 cents on using Parasite control to make some dollars. In a trial of calves, Long Range outperformed Sidectin and Safeguard dewormers combined by as much as an extra 40 pounds. Yeah, that's a lot of extra profit, and that's why it pays to treat cattle with Long Range. Do not treat within 48 days of slaughter. Not for use in female dairy cattle 20 months of age or older, including dry dairy cows or in veal calves. Post-injection site damage can occur. These reactions have disappeared without treatment. You can't afford another season without Long Range.
Welcome back. In 2017, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association held 5 regional stockmanship and stewardship events all across the country. With sponsorship support from Beringer Ingelheim and the Beef Checkoff, these 2-day workshops were provided at a very low cost for cattlemen and women and gave hands-on learning in the areas of beef quality assurance and low-stress cattle handling. Libby Bigler, the BQA coordinator for the state of Colorado, organized the event held at Colorado State University. She told Cattlemen to Cattlemen that good stockmanship and BQA are closely connected.
The Beef Quality Assurance Program and Stockmanship and Stewardship really go hand in hand. Stockmanship is all about how we care for our animals, things like low-stress cattle handling, just understanding how cattle think and those kind of things. And if we can understand that and handle cattle in that manner, we're going to help reduce bruising, we're going to help reduce stress, and stress obviously reduces immune function, and then as those things compile, we have more issues with quality. And so if we can start the foundation with good stockmanship, we're not going to have to worry about those BQA topics as much down the road. And so they really, really do work hand in hand.
And joining us now is Chase DeCoit, NCBA's Director of Beef Quality Assurance. Chase, we're talking about the stockmanship and stewardship events that have happened all across this country in 2017. I know my son and I thoroughly enjoyed the event up at Colorado State University. What kind of reaction have you gotten from other participants?
You know, Kevin, that's great to hear. We've heard similar reactions to you and your sons all across the country. Folks are excited about these learning opportunities. They're excited to engage with our stockmanship clinicians across the country in a format that they haven't had before. You know, these are multi-day events, 2-day events that folks can come, learn about stockmanship, but also about other parts of our industry that can help impact their operation and provide them with real benefit.
Yeah, some absolutely practical guidance for all of us to improve our own operations. So 2017, you had a series of these events. What can we expect in 2018?
Yeah, in 2018, a little bit more of the same, but we plan on learning from 2017, enhancing these events, making them even more beneficial to our producers across the country. So we're going to see things in new regions. We're going to have events, possibly 6 events in 2018, and we're also going to be able to focus on some of our dairy audience. You know, they have a huge impact on the beef industry, and we're going to reach some of them with events across the country.
NCBA is also leading the charge in talking about cattle transportation. And why is this such an important issue, Chase?
Yeah, transportation is another important segment of our industry, and so many people forget about it when we talk about cow-calf, stockers, feeders, but transportation is really what links all those different segments of the beef industry together. We've known it's a sensitive area for those who are critical of our industry, and NCBA has really stepped up through the beef quality assurance and checkoff programs to address those through training and certification programs. And so a few years ago, we did a transportation symposium. We looked at all the research that was available in the world of transportation and cattle transportation to really analyze what our next steps needed to be. And starting this year, we're really starting to make progress on those next steps through training programs.
Now, BQA has recently launched a series of new educational modules. Tell our viewers a little bit about those.
Yeah, exactly, Kevin. On November 15th, we're launching our new BQA Transportation Training and Certification Platform, and this is exactly how we're addressing that need and that gap within our segment of training around quality cattle care, quality cattle health and well-being, and allowing those transporters to show that they're doing the right thing.
So we talk a lot about consumer confidence and earning consumers' trust. How can these modules and these educational activities help us improve the consumer's trust for our product?
Yeah, this is just another proactive way that we can positively share beef's story all the way from pasture to plate. We're filling in those gaps with training and certification programs, just like the Beef Quality Assurance Program, but for those steps that we haven't had it before. Transportation, like I said earlier, links all of those segments of our industry together, and now they'll have a positive story to tell.
Well, you all are doing a great job on this, and I hope lots more people will take advantage of these educational opportunities in 2018.
Certainly, Kevin, we look forward to it too.
As Chase mentioned, you can find out more about the transportation education modules at the website bqa.org. We're not done talking about stockmanship and stewardship. When we return, I'll step out of the studio to talk to one of the participants in a recent event. And later, we'll explore the work NCBA is doing in the area of sustainability and how that could impact your operation. Stay with us.
Hello everybody, Stormy Warren here from SiriusXM's The Highway. Congratulations on your record-breaking 2017 Cattle Industry Convention right here in my backyard in Nashville, Tennessee. Now, let's see if we can smash more records in 2018. Blaze a trail to Phoenix, Arizona and the 2018 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show. Meet up with thousands of your fellow cattlemen and women and have a whole lot of fun. You can laugh along with the always funny Bill Engvall at the Cowboy Comedy Club and get valuable information at the general sessions where you just might see this guy. Plus, explore 6 acres of displays at the NCBA Trade Show. Join me and blaze a trail to Phoenix for the 2018 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show, January 31st through February 2nd. You can find out more at beefusa.org.
Say goodbye to your toughest pasture and rangeland weeds for good. Because one product offers season-long control, handles the widest spectrum of broadleaf weeds, and clears the way for increased forage with greater grazing flexibility. So you get more beef per acre at a cost that can't be beat. It's Grazon Next HL herbicide, and if it's in your pastures, plain and simple, weeds won't be.
We've been hosting a series of regional stockmanship and stewardship clinics all around the country, and recently we were able to hear from Trey Patterson, CEO of the Padlock Ranch in Ranchester, Wyoming. Trey, during that special event in Fort Collins, you had talked a lot about what you've done at the Padlock Ranch. Tell us, what do you perceive as the biggest value of implementing stockmanship and stewardship practices?
Well, I think the biggest value is creating an environment where you can continually improve. It's a continuum. We all have to understand that we're on a continuum, and it pays. Our customers want that, our consumers want that, and so I think there's value economically, and there's some things that intrinsically are inherent to good stockmanship. It's good husbandry, it's good practice.
One thing that you mentioned was that it's not just about facilities or about dollars and cents, it's a lot about mindset. What did you mean by that?
Oh, it really is in the mind, and it's about getting people to understand that our role in handling cattle is not to go out and just get the logistics done. It's about taking care of this animal. We want them to be productive. We want them to be healthy. We want our people to be healthy. And so it's about getting this mindset that we're here today when we're working these cattle to create a productive response in them, not the other way around, not to get our job done and go home.
You know, you commented the number of people you have working at the Padlock Ranch, and yet the numbers of cattle each one of those individuals are responsible for. Tell me, how do you convince employees of yours to maybe take things a little slower and do things right as opposed to just getting things done and moving on?
Well, I think a big part of it is communicating the importance of it. It's a leadership culture, and then allow them to fail. It's not an expectation that we're all going to be experts at this today. It's a continuum, it's a process, and let them fail and let them self-evaluate and just provide that leadership. It's this mentor-coach relationship that I think really will take people to the next level. When they start seeing the results, then they understand that, wow, this stuff really works.
And one last question, let's talk about those results. What are the 2 or 3 biggest benefits the Padlock Ranch has seen because of improved stockmanship and stewardship?
Well, I think one thing that we've seen is we can get a lot of work done without having to have a lot of people. And we need high quality, high skilled people, and not just anybody can come in the door and do that. And so we've been able to keep our labor budgets reasonable. I think manage and shrink on cattle is a big deal. We see less shrink because our cattle aren't stressed, even when we handle them multiple times. But when it comes to sale day, if those cattle aren't afraid of you and they know that they're going into a safe situation, you're going to have less shrink. The other thing is weaning rate. You know, keeping cattle paired up and being able to wean a live calf at the end of the year, that is still our biggest determinant of profitability, is bringing that live calf in. And so if you keep cattle paired up, keep them healthy, they're going to be live, and that makes you money.
Well, thank you so much for your insights. You provide great inspiration to us all.
Well, I'm glad to be here, glad to be able to speak with you today, and we'll just all keep trying to improve.
Absolutely. And in that vein, there will be a lot more opportunities throughout 2018 to attend these stockmanship and stewardship events. And we'll be back with more right after this.
Stay Tough fence will last 3 times longer and is 4 times stronger than low tensile fencing. High tensile wire, solid vertical stays, and tight fixed knots all provide superior strength. You will use fewer posts, saving time, labor, and money. Protect your investment for generations with Stay Tough fence. Stay strong, stay tight, stay tough.
No matter what job I've got to do, my John Deere 5E tractor can do it all. Whether I'm cutting, moving feed, or building a fence. Using my 5E means my work gets done faster at a price I can afford, and that works for me.
There is a new world out there, revealing itself in unpredictable ways. A world that demands more from the land and those who grow, farm, and build on it. This new world calls for the ingenuity to get more out of it while preserving as much as we can. After all, to stay ahead of tomorrow, we need to be equipped for it today.
You're watching NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen on RFD TV.
America's beef producers have long been leaders in the area of sustainability. We know the only way we're going to meet growing global demand is by balancing environmental responsibility and economic opportunity. Let's visit a feed yard in Nebraska and see how they work every day to make sustainability a top priority.
Sustainability to me is honoring and respecting the land, the animals, and the people in the beef community. Because of that ruminant system in the beef animal, they're able to use fibers that are real high in cellulose and convert it to protein. That's the beauty of being able to buy our feeds right around here where we live, just locally grown, corn stalks, hay, the ethanol byproduct, give it to those cattle and they can convert it to protein. They're upcycling products that we can't eat. We want to do the best we can, and anytime you're working with land and animals, it's a long-term focus, never just on the one day. I have children, I have grandchildren that live all over the country. They're buying beef in grocery stores. I buy beef in grocery stores, and I feel very confident in the safeguards that we as farmers and ranchers put into place to provide this healthy, nutritious product for consumers.
And joining us now is Dr. Sarah Place, NCBA's Senior Director of Sustainable Beef Production Research. Sarah, that story we just heard is part of a new Beef Checkoff funded initiative. What can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. So that was actually an example of one of 4 different videos that we shot around the country, looking at what producers are actually doing in the real world that relates back to sustainability. So this is actually building off of a research project that we've had going on over the course of the last few years, looking at regional production systems around the United States, because we know one size fits all does not work for beef sustainability. It's one of the strengths of our industry is the diversity of production. So we just want to put a human face to that and actually have that authentic story coming from producers and specifics and tangible aspects of sustainability really come out.
So specifically, how will these stories and these videos be used?
Yeah, so actually all of the videos will be housed on our research website, which is beefresearch.org. And in terms of how they'll be used, they're kind of meant for a few different audiences. We have 2 different length versions of all the videos. So our shorter version of the videos, which are about 90 seconds to a minute, those will be great tools that we can use on social media where appropriate when we need to get that message out. And then the longer videos have lots of different options of how they can be used. So they can be used for supply chain partners to kind of give them an idea of what regional production systems look like in the United States. And some of those influencer audiences that we interact with both at the national and the state level from a standpoint of what state beef councils do. So dietitians or bloggers, et cetera, people that have questions about beef sustainability, or if they're, say, in a state in the East Coast, they may not know or understand what happens in the Western United States. So this gives them a visual, actually, of what is taking place.
That's outstanding. And so tell us this, I mean, when it comes to this effort, why is it important to actually have producers being the ones telling the beef sustainability story?
Yeah, great question. So it's actually, of course, first and foremost, it's their story, right? That's why it's so important to have them as the spokespeople and really talking about what they do. I sometimes think that word sustainability, it's kind of got a bit of a buzzword feel around it. But what we hope to convey with these videos is to show that what sustainability is what producers are doing right now, every day, right? What they do. Best management practices. How can they take better care of their land, their animals, be good members of their community? That's what sustainability is about. So having that producer face, we know from research that is really what connects with people. So that's why it's so important. Producers are the leaders in telling that story.
You mentioned research. I mean, why is it so important to maintain the focus on sustainability research, both for NCBA and the Beef Checkoff itself?
Absolutely. So of course, everything that we do is based in science, right? We have to have that strong science foundation. And so that's why it's so important to continue that research program. It's actually a very young field of science. It's in flux and changing all the while. So being as up to date as possible and making sure that we have science to benchmark the continuous progress that the industry is making. Again, coming back to what producers are doing, the latest technologies that they're adopting. We need to make sure that we're always capturing that to show the sustainability progress that this industry is making.
So in reference to that, I mean, what success have you had so far in getting this research into the hands of people that can actually use it and share it with consumers?
Yeah, great question. So again, we have multiple audiences for this type of research. So consumer audiences, general consumer audiences. We have had some success with amplifying some of these type of stories, similar stories and videos on social media. But also looking at going out to state cattlemen's meetings or myself and others actually interacting with those bloggers, dietitians, again, those influencer audiences that I mentioned earlier, that can really help change hearts and minds actually when we do those type of events and talk to them about what sustainability is for the beef industry.
I think there are some producers who ask the question, is this just a fad? Will this pass? What would you say in terms of why you believe sustainability is so important to the future of our industry?
Absolutely. So I think we can look at that from a few different angles. One is from the consumer trends and what we see in the media all the while. It's a continuous story that's out there, right? Sustainability. Unfortunately, there's some negative connotations with beef when it comes to sustainability, and so that's why it's so important for us to be active in the space to counteract some of those misconceptions and frankly just misinformation that gets perpetuated out there. It's also important from a standpoint of just why are we concerned about sustainability in the first place? We have a growing world population, right? We're going to have 2050 population of over 9 billion people, increased demand for protein, and so we only have a certain amount of agricultural land that we can use. And really at the heart of it, that's what sustainability is about. How can we nourish people in a way that keeps us going in the future?
That's great. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your perspective on this. Really appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Be sure to check out beefresearch.org for the latest updates on the sustainability efforts NCBA is undertaking as a contractor to the beef checkoff. Still ahead, we'll check in with the cowboy poet Baxter Black. Plus, you'll learn about a simple and quick system from Merck that can help you diagnose BRD. Stay with us.
Long live the courageous, the tenacious, the ones who push forward and give back. Long live the greater good, the helping hand, and long live the truck built to outlast them all. Ram, America's longest lasting pickups.
What does it mean to be an American cattleman? It means you have what it takes where it counts, on the inside. At Ritchie, we understand that. It's what's on the inside that defines us. We share the same values: ingenuity, commitment, sense of pride. These are the values that built this country. They're the values that built this company. Ritchie, proud to be a partner to the American cattlemen since 1921.
Last month, we introduced you to an exciting new product from Merck Animal Health that's used in the fight against bovine respiratory disease. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Brad Bulla has more on how this technology works and how it can be used on your operation to better detect BRD.
One of the biggest issues in effectively treating BRD is early and accurate diagnosis of the symptoms.
The diagnosis of BRD is definitely a challenge. Therefore, the need for improving our diagnostic accuracy and improving the time in which we find those animals in the disease phase is important. We feel it's important to evaluate new technologies in order to try and make a dent in the negative economic impact of BRD.
Ford County Feeders was excited about a simple, quick, and non-invasive system from Merck Animal Health that could help their yard better manage BRD.
Some of the things that have made us successful here, I've always felt, was we were always open-minded with different technologies. We try to take care of our employees by using different technologies to make life easier for them and also do a good job for the customer.
Whisper, just like a traditional stethoscope that your physician would place on your chest and back at your annual physical, is an automated form of that device where it is capturing the sounds that is generated in that animal's chest. And so there's a number of sounds that animal generates from its chest. That is a combination of air sounds coming from the lungs. And so Whisper is capturing those sounds, converting it into a digital file, processing those sounds through the computer software, and then generating a score that the user then sees that reflects the severity of BRD that animal is suffering.
Whisper has helped on the feed yard here. Basically, a lot of pulls that come to the hospital, I don't feel are respiratory. So once a pull comes to the hospital, we put in a chute. We use the Whisper program with the rectal temperature to make sure which treatment protocol we're going to follow.
As with any new technology, it is important to learn how to use it properly in order to maximize its benefits.
The Whisper program is very user-friendly. You wear a stethoscope and you can listen, and it also shows you on a monitor what's going on. When they brought the Whisper product in, we had about 2 days of training. It was good to have them here to show us how things work. Guys were 100% confident by the time they left.
One of the advantages of Whisper is that it's very user-friendly. It is the installation is very simplistic and basically requires minimal understanding of a computer system, as well as just good cattle handling facilities as well. And so to that point, anyone can use Whisper if properly trained. However, we do recommend that training be performed and is constantly reevaluated in order that we make sure that that animal is placed in the chute correctly. Correct placement of Whisper is extremely important. And so first and foremost, we are focusing on the right side of the chest of that animal. And we're focusing on the right side because the bovine has an ancillary bronchi that extends off the trachea down to the right side of the lung field. And so if an animal is going to develop BRD, in most cases it's going to start on that right side. And so in order to improve and maximize the sensitivity of Whisper, the algorithm was generated based on the right side. So starting on the right side is imperative. Proper placement on that right side then is the second priority. Generally with that animal standing flat-footed in the chute, we want to place that scope roughly 2 inches back from the elbow and 2 inches up. And that gives us the best positioning to find that area of the lung field that if there is going to be BRD in that animal, it's going to be in that spot. Currently, Whisper is available through Merck Animal Health, and so reaching out to your Merck Animal Health sales representative would be the best place to start. And from there, we can initiate installation and further training. Once Whisper is installed, the training does not stop, it's ongoing. We make sure that the customer is fully comfortable with the system before turning them loose. But even then, we're able to remotely monitor sound quality to ensure that it's being used properly and that the scope is working correctly.
Whisper is new to us in February of 2016. We've been using it ever since that day.
As long as BRD continues to impact the beef industry, advancement in new technologies will certainly be needed to help producers fight back. I'm Brad Bullafor, NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
And here to tell us more about the Whisper stethoscope is Dr. Nels Lindberg, a large animal veterinarian from Kansas. So Dr. Lindberg, how has the Whisper stethoscope helped you diagnose BRD in feed yards?
Well, it's just brought another dimension of our ability to not just visually identify an animal and take a temperature, but use a piece of technology to give us a further degree of just how sick they are or if they do have actual BRD.
So what were some of the challenges of the traditional approaches to diagnosing BRD?
Well, traditionally over the last century, we've diagnosed it with our help and just visual evaluation of that animal looks sick and looks like he has pneumonia, and followed up with the temperature and making our decision to treat or not treat based on those sort of things. So it's added a whole nother level of case definition, if you will, to better define the level of sickness of that animal.
Now, we were talking before the show here about a scoring system you developed with this technology. Tell our viewers a little bit more about that.
Yes, our scoring system, the scoring system of Whisper right now is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 1 being normal all the way to 5 being severe or chronic. And so we use those numbers to help us better dictate maybe how we treat those animals.
And so how should producers, or how are you recommending producers use the Whisper score distribution scoring system to diagnose and treat cattle then?
Well, for every operation, it's probably should be a little different. There is no one-size-fits-all approach or one protocol for all operations. Based on score and animal temperature, visual evaluation, we can then further be very specific in what antibiotics we may choose based on the level of severity.
Now, this isn't meant to replace your veterinarian, right? I mean, you were
No.
suggesting that you still have to work closely with your veterinarian to both diagnose and to treat BRD issues.
Sure. We as producers, and as veterinarians, we all need to work together to do the best we can to not only use stewardship and judicious use of antibiotics, but we can use new technologies like this to help bring a better case definition to that animal. And is he sick? And if he is sick, how sick is he? And from there, then maybe pick appropriate antibiotics to treat that animal, not just a one-size-fits-all approach.
Yeah, which is becoming critically important, especially as we see the increasing critical nature of how we use antibiotics in animal agriculture in total.
Absolutely.
We talk a lot about BRD on this show. Producers struggle with it a lot, costs the industry a lot of money. What final thoughts would you share with folks about recommendations for how to better manage and treat BRD?
I would follow up with kind of your last question, and that I think in our industry we all need to work together and work with veterinarians and producers all together. We have some great tools and technology out there that allow us to maybe use our products available to us today in a more judicious but stewardship manner. We only have so many at this point in time. The consumer is expecting us to do that. And we have tools available to help us narrow down to what products we can and can't use or should or shouldn't use on individual animals or groups as a whole. And it's just our obligation to do that for not necessarily even the consumer, but our profession.
Absolutely.
And what we do every day.
And future generations. As I tell people, I want my son to be able to treat animals with antibiotics that works. And I have some responsibility to make sure that happens.
That's a fact.
Thank you so much for coming today.
Glad to be here.
Now, you can learn more about the proper use of the Whisper stethoscope and schedule an on-site demonstration at whispercattle.com. And to learn more about the mini BRD treatment products Merck has to offer, just visit their website. That's merckanimalhealthusa.com. When we return, it's time for another visit with our good friend Baxter Black. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Forward. It's more than a direction. It's mandatory. Because the beef business rewards the progressive, the doers, the ones who know what it takes to go easy on cattle and never set them back. So set your eyes on the horizon, turn your back to the wind, and move your herd the only way you know. Forward. Vista Vaccines. Always ahead.
Hello everybody, Stormy Warren here from SiriusXM's The Highway. Join me at the 2018 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show in Phoenix, Arizona. Come explore over 6 acres of displays for more than 350 companies during the best cattle industry trade show. Plus, you can have some fun with my friend comedian Bill Engvall at our exclusive Cowboy Comedy Club. So blaze a trail to Phoenix, January 31st to February 2nd. Find out more at beefusa.org.
We know you're up before the dawn. because the cattle rise before the sun. And you spend long hours in the saddle because the herd isn't always over the next rise. And you care for the land because you know it takes care of your family. And we know you do great work. And it's time to tell that story to the marketplace. IMI Global is here to help you do just that. Ladies and gentlemen and followers of cowboy humor, in a moment of weakness, I, Baxter Black, have written another book. I appreciate it. Its title is Scrambled Wisdom. Almost isn't is it? Which almost makes sense. Well, our almost Christmas buy two get one free offer does make sense. $25 plus shipping. Call 800-654-2550 or online at baxterblack.com. I consider myself as progressive as any horseman when it comes to considering techniques and devices for improving my horse's welfare or my own horsemanship. Humans have been riding horses for millennia, and everything we take for granted today was once the brainstorm of some Mongolian or some jolly old English horse trainer. I don't know, Cedric. When I heft me lance, it pulls me over and I fall off. Funny, Sir Lancelot. I was just reading in the Camelot Horseman about a new piece of gear invented by a team roper in western Wales. He called it a steer up. I'll check into it. You would think, after centuries of marketing geniuses trying to sell a horseman one more thing, they would have run out of ideas. But I must have 25 different versions of hoof picks laying around. I've bought stirrup swivels and metal Hondas, sweatless saddle pads, fly masks, cribbing devices, electric brands, magic minerals, and special concoctions of all kinds. My latest, a unique hoof support system for the farrier, horse owner, and veterinarian. A lightweight fiberglass unit with interchangeable foot cradle and straight post. It has magnets to hold hoof rasps and nippers and clinchers. Actually, I like it. It replaces 3 hoof support systems that I'm using now, made of disc blades, 2-inch pipe, and tire tread. At a fair in Kanab, I bought a patented stirrup extender for my neighbor Jack. Now Jack's got a little age on him, and he's not of tall stature, so mounting involves parking his horse next to a cut bank or a water trough or a hay bale. So we installed the stirrup extender on his saddle, which lowers the left stirrup a full 3 inches with the push of a button. 3 days later, I asked Jack how his new stirrup extender was working. Great, he said, but there's one complication. I can get my foot in the stirrup okay, but when I try and swing my leg over the saddle, I fork too soon. This is Baxter Black from out there.
Thanks, Baxter. We always enjoy your segments. We'll have more right after this. Stay with us.
Well, I think a rancher has to be a steward of the land. There's nobody else that can take care of the land better than a rancher. When we switched over to the Purina products, it was a step in the right direction.
The difference we see in the cattle is the consistency of their nutrition.
The cattle hold their condition a lot better throughout the whole year.
It does make a difference that we can see, day in and day out.
There are many great reasons to join NCBA, and that includes exclusive NCBA member discounts and benefits from some outstanding companies.
Hi, this is Kerry Bastine, President of Roper Apparel and Footwear, Stetson Apparel Boots, and Tin Hall. We are very proud sponsors of the NCBA, and for all new members signing up with the NCBA, you get 50% off your first purchase, and for all Go Forward members, you get 25% off 4 times a year. Go to urbanwesternwear.com, click on the NCBA specials, use your coupon code for your first 50% off, and come back to Urban Western Wear all year long and use your 25% coupons that you'll find in the National Cattlemen's newspaper.
Big discounts on boots, clothing, and Western apparel is just one of the many amazing deals you get as an NCBA member. Don't miss out. Join NCBA today and enjoy these exclusive member discounts. Find out more at beefusa.org.
Welcome back. We invite you to blaze a trail to Phoenix for the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show. Registration for convention and for housing is now available, and you should sign up quickly to take advantage of the best rates. The 2018 convention runs from January 31st through February 2nd. Don't wait. Sign up today. Go to ncba.org for all the details. It's time once again for Legacy Photos as we share some great shots submitted by our viewers. Let's have a look. Want to see your photo on Cattlemen to Cattlemen? You can submit your favorite shots a couple of ways. Either message them to us on the Cattlemen to Cattlemen Facebook page or email them to c2c@beef.org. Include your ranch or farm name and your hometown, and we may use them on a future episode. Well, that's our time for this week's edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again next week right here on RFD TV.